Good morning and welcome to today's live show. Make sure to tune into the last part of this show because we are going to go over through all the stocks that we cover at the end of this video in the last 15 minutes. Okay, so if you're not watching this live, make sure to join back to actually scroll forward to the last 15 minutes of this so you guys can see our overall breakdown. We're going to give a breakdown right away this morning because we got to get you guys those ranges. I finally fixed my Streamlabs. It keeps turning off every 5 seconds. I don't know exactly what's going on with it, but that's okay. I put some headphones on and really get started this morning. But yeah, tune into the last 15 minutes. Also, while we are watching today, if you do want to learn about these stocks, you can have all the knowledge over the weekend. And we're seeing some volatility start to pick up. We're seeing some things with volatility that could be a sign that we're actually going to see it continue in a positive trend. As you look at the 30-minute, able to get back into a positive trend. So it's a good time to learn about these things if you want to learn how to read these charts, these indicators and things like that. We teach you why they are important and how you can use them to trade. And you use that information in any market, but in this case, we want to give you a bear market strategy at the end where we put it all together with those weekly ranges, because I believe we are going into a bear market, and something that's really telling us that is the 10-year. The 10-year really starting to tick up here. So as volatility and the 10-year creep up, that means pretty much we're going to see bigger swings in the market, which means we could see downward prices, right? But we get some big bounces, and that's what the course is really good at teaching you. And that's why it's good to also join the Patreon. We give some trading ideas on there as well. So today, really want to be paying attention. We're going to go through all the stocks that we cover on this channel. Once a few people get in here, make sure to like all the stocks. I'm going to even go like the stream. That way more people can see it this morning, because last night's video, it kept filming like in vertical, but like on my screen it was 1080p like wide, and so it was super annoying. It was very frustrating. I couldn't even edit it. It was awful. But Double Dark, thank you for joining. Hello Matthew, here early today. I feel like Matthew's here a little early today, 8 o'clock. Once we get a few more people to trickle in, make sure to like. If you're the part of the first 15 people here this morning, make sure to like the video so we can get to more people, because we couldn't put out a YouTube video last night. My Streamlabs has been messing up a lot, and that's what I used to stream, by the way, on YouTube. Just what I'm comfortable with, right? I've used it before, but it didn't want to, like, and I use it to record as well, and so I'm worried that this is going to come out in like narrow, like this. Is it? Oh God, Connie, quad witching. Well, during quad witching, we got to do things while we're waiting. We can do that breakdown pretty quick, but let's go look at some max pain before we start, right? Let's look at some max pain. Let's check the SPY for the day. Let's see what's happening on that side of things. A ton of puts. Oh my God, we can. Oh no. If prices actually go higher, we could see a squeeze here. And one thing I wanted to point out, as we do see that this morning, maybe we'll do max pain for all of them as we go through the daily expected moves here. Okay, so daily expected move for the SPY. You can see we're heading towards it right now. Let's go into a shorter time frame. Let's do like a 30-minute. So you'll see that we're actually heading towards the bottom of that right now. And the thing about this that I said in my video last night that you guys didn't get to see is this range is very small for the SPY, which I even checked the math on this. I might have to go make sure this is correct at this point for the SPY. But this tells me, after all the moves that we've seen this week, I think we're going to get outside of these ranges today, and we very well might break like to the downside, then break to the upside by end of day if we squeeze, because that is a huge put call ratio. Everyone on the put side. Now, it doesn't mean we can't go down with that. If we head down with that, that just means there's very bearish sentiment. But if we start to buy back up and hold at higher prices, you're going to see a lot of those people go underwater. So we have to pay attention to that kind of thing. But the range for today, 516.76 to the upside, 513.12 to the downside. That's just what I have. It almost seems wrong to me. Maybe the implied volatility that I use to find this is off a little bit. So maybe if, what was it? Was it Robert? If you're in here this morning, maybe you could calculate those ranges yourself and tell me what you come up with, because these ranges for the SPY are very small, and I'm worried that I got like a false print on the implied volatility. So check these ranges, but if this is right, I really think we're getting outside of this range, or we're going to see some kind of weird reaction down and just like touch this area by end of day. So very interesting going forward. Just remember, we do land in this zone still 68% of the time. Even though it's small, we can see something crazier happen, something like we're seeing over at AMD, which we're going to get to in a moment. The Qs here, let's look up the Qs. Let's see what people are thinking for the Qs today with this quad witching. Now, that could also mean that the selling is just going to pile on, and then those people take profit by end of day. So this actually could just keep selling off, and then we see people take profit at end of day. So we have to pay attention to a bunch of things, but 1.95 put to call ratio right now. You have the put wall, big put wall at 420. First put wall to probably pay attention to the downside. Well, we're right at it right now. 435, first one, the big one, 420. So you're noticing the calls are kind of slim over here. We got a bunch of puts in the market as of right now. So some bearish sentiment going into the day. The upside of the range, 443.32 and 435.04. See, this range made more sense, but it's still more regular for what we've gotten overall over the past like week. Throughout the week, we've seen bigger ranges, right? Now we're seeing a smaller one going into quad witching. That is a good sign that we're probably going to break a side, but we still have to be like, okay, we do land in here 68% of the time. So if we see structure down here, we will notify you about it right now live while the market is actually open. And once again, make sure to like this stream. I know maybe if you don't like it all the time and things like that. Yeah, I'm going to get to NVIDIA in a moment, but make sure to like the stream, guys. Make sure a bunch of people are able to see this because I wasn't able to put that video out last night. I was able to fix my Streamlabs, so hopefully it's not vertical, but yeah, I was able to watch Streamlabs. I'm going to just pop by IWM. You see this reaction into that zone. We can see actually buying back up from here. We touch inside zones and see support a lot. Apple, as we move forward, you can see where's the top side of that range, 175.38. Where's the downside, 170.80. And this does not look bad, right? We get the cup. We're insufficient at this level to head higher, so we dip down lower. We form the cup again. Now we get our handle. We're kind of just consolidating here. We could get some kind of move up and see that ripped away by end of day. It could be flat. Based on this, it would say that we're going to have a just wonky up and down day like this, right? It says, hey, we might do this, then come down, then come back up, maybe come down. So we have to pay attention to the actual price action of the SPY, because if this is actually correct, I've never seen it really this thin unless we're in the biggest, low volatility. Volatility is higher, so this is really, really interesting. And it really makes me think it might be incorrect. But just so you have those levels, for Apple, 175.38 to the upside, 170.80 to the downside. So still kind of in this range. If we wanted to, we could go pick up some more liquidity before we actually head higher. But this looks pretty good for Apple. I think we maybe get to this zone. Tesla. Tesla finally starting to curl back up. You actually do have this 30-minute divergence across. It's just very, very wide. So I'd like to look at like an hourly to see. And you see on the hourly, it kind of goes away. You only have it on the MACD at the same time. And then you do have one on this 2-hour flatness of the MACD. Little bit up on this one, but nothing on the RSI. So if you do get a bounce out of Tesla, be very, very careful with that bounce. If we get a strong bounce over the next couple days, be very careful. Make sure this is going positive, and then you want to see if that daily's rolling around. But if this just rolls up, comes up here like this, and then rolls back down, very easy swing trade on the way down, right? That's the way it's going to go. It's going to start to head down on Tesla. If we do curl back around, we have plenty of points of resistance going forward. We're outside of that weekly expected move and all that good stuff, so we have to be a little bit cautious in this area. I believe we're outside of the weekly expect. Let me double check. I don't want to tell you guys something. 163.80 is where that actually comes in. So your range for the day is actually this one here, 167.53. Then you have 157.49, and then right above where we are right now, we're at that weekly expected move. We're actually below it at this moment, right? So we have to pay attention to that. We could get some kind of reaction down and up, but since we are outside of that weekly, and this is right here, not the hugest range, so we could see some kind of strong move here. but I would look for this to hold as resistance, and maybe we just turn back down. So Tesla, a little bit interesting. Let's go look at Max Payne for Tesla. We might as well. It sounds like fun. Let's check Apple first, because I don't think we did that. Apple, a lot of calls coming in. Okay, so a lot of calls. We could see some bullishness out of this. If people want to pump this thing up and then dump all their calls, that would make total sense. Tesla, or maybe it sells off and these people go underwater. So we have to look for if we're going to go with the overall sentiment in these readings in Max Payne, or if we're going to go the opposite direction and cause some squeezing either way. Tesla, as of today, big amount of calls. So Tesla has the opportunity to regain some strength here, come back in that weekly, maybe even break through this. So it does have the opportunity to land somewhere up here, just so we're clear. Now we have to see, once again, is it going to go with the bullish sentiment, or are we going to see these people, see Tesla go to lower levels, hold these people underwater, and then they start to sell their positions, and then that's people hitting the sell button on Tesla. Amazon, so you have the upside of that range, 181.57 to the upside. Okay, 181.57 to the upside, and we have 176.01 to the downside. Okay, so this is the range for the day, and this one actually makes a lot of sense. This would bring us up to here. What did we say about this 2 hour? You just don't want it to exceed this one right here. You really, if you get some kind of pop, that most likely will fade, but if it doesn't, we could be continuing another positive trend into next week. So be very cautious up here. Things are not looking good. The yield is skyrocketing. So make sure to like this so that people can see this video. Make sure to like this morning. I'm going to keep saying that because we couldn't put out a video last night. Very important that people get these levels going into today. Let's check on Amazon. We're going to check that Max Payne as well real quick, and then we're going to go and get into NVIDIA. We still have plenty of time, guys. A little bit of a bullish sentiment. Kind of 0.71, not the one you really want to worry about. 0.7 to 0.8 is usually where you would say, hey, it's kind of right in the middle because most of the time the market goes up. So the range you want to pay attention to there is if it's between 0.7 and 0.8, it's not the worst sign in the world. It's actually pretty even. So that means that we could see a little bit of a fight here between bulls and bears on Amazon, in my opinion. Now, NVIDIA, this is one that we want to check this before we actually look at these ranges. And the range isn't that big, which is kind of interesting. The implied volatility was big, but the range didn't end up being big. So I'm very interested with that. A little bit on the call side, but like I said, it's right around that 0.82. Okay, so it's not anything crazy. It's kind of right in the middle. We'll have to see what's going on with that. Now, there are some huge call walls, which tells me that maybe these people know something that we don't, and we're going to see some kind of move out of NVIDIA, but we also could just end up where we're at right now, and a lot of people would lose money. So I would totally understand. Now, what I want to pay attention to, this 30-minute, if this can just curl up in positive territory, that's really what you're looking for here. And that's where, if that happens, that's when you want to pay attention to the upside, which is 907.80 to the upside and 851.84. And then we can come back. Okay, 900 call wall. 900's our limit for the day, pretty much. 950 call wall. Okay, so we could see some kind of big reaction, or we are just going to see, something regular. We're just going to see this kind of like pop up like this, maybe see this as resistance, maybe even get that cup going on into the end of the day, right? See this reaction up, get some kind of handle up here, start to head up. Remember, we were talking about a possible head and shoulders forming here if it wanted to go to the upside. If it wants to go down, we're going to see some stuff curl over. We're going to see some stuff start to get into negative territory, which right now the 30-minute is in negative territory. The daily still way up there, about to cross. So if this crosses today, that would not be good. You do have a little bit more of a bearish bar, right? We were talking about how this right here, sure, it's kind of hangman. So, but you are closing above the 5-day moving average. This one closed below it, which means we can go down to this 20. Maybe we actually do come down into this base. That would be interesting going on in today. I think that we will start to get that direction. I think we might even get that direction possibly going into next week. I think we might see some bullishness going on into next week, and then we could see that kind of ripped away. So if it does come down to this base, look for some kind of reaction. We could be getting like a little head and shoulders with this overall head and shoulders. But if we get a huge reaction up, that's where kind of our our imagination has to get in, right? We have to say, if this has built up liquidity for a little bit, when Nvidia builds up liquidity for a moment, you see pops. So we could see a pop higher, get to that 1,000 mark, and then come down and create something like this. That would be very interesting, but it really looks like we have to give some markers to the bears right now. You're in negative territory on the 30-minute. You have the daily that's about to cross over, and it's been overbought for quite some time. It's closing below the 5. The Booster, welcome. Family Adventures, welcome. SJ, welcome. Richard, welcome. Georgie, welcome. Family Adventures again, welcome. Edward Smith, welcome. Sorry, Brandon, welcome. 8, welcome. Muhammad, welcome. Connie, welcome. Okay, so just pay attention to these levels. We're going to pay attention to this live for a couple hours this morning. AMD, this is one that we did put out on Patreon, but we updated it and said, hey, start to be very careful because a lot of this stuff is not confirming. A lot of this stuff is getting violated. You just have flatness on the MACD right now, no divergence on the RSI. This thing can keep going, and that's why I quickly was like, oh, we need to update and say, you know, if you're getting into this position, I believe we put it out somewhere around here. I was just like, okay, this is where it could happen, but if we start to head lower, it's not looking good. So be very careful with this move. Now, what can happen because we are so low in this is you notice that we do have our daily range up for this. So the daily range, just want to look at the weekly, 191.26 is that weekly. So in this area, we can see a lot of resistance. We could see some kind of roll up in AMD and then see that rejected and come right back down. So we're going to really watch this 30-minute. It's pretty far away from positive territory at this point. Look, it's pretty far away. So if it wants to build back up to positive territory, it's going to take a lot of effort. So if we do get a bounce here, it could just roll over. Now, if we're going to see something crazier happen, we're already outside of that range. So we can just see this keep going. This is when we get outside of it and you start to violate all these divergences, it means that maybe we're just going to keep selling off. You can see something crazy happen. Now, the area you want to pay attention, 193.11 and 181.51. Those are going to be the two levels you really want to pay attention to. And let's just, with that info now, let's look at AMD here. AMD with a 1-to-1 ratio pretty much. So that is leading a little bit bearish for the day. If we do head to higher levels, we can squeeze out a few people. But we have to see if this bearish sentiment is going to last in AMD throughout the day. So we want to pay attention to possibly 170 if we see some downside, right? If we see some extreme downside, we have to pay attention to 170. I don't think it's going to get down there. I think this level right here is at least okay for a bounce. I think we might even bounce up and get into this area and then come down. But starting off the day, heading lower. So pay attention to that. Meta, I just want to show you guys which way this is moving. This one, we gave you the weekly expected move. Now, you do have a bunch of liquidity in here. So if we wanted to break down, you see cup, handle, break down, bunch of liquidity to use to head down. If we wanted to head up, we could use all this as a big left shoulder, come up to that area again, carve out a little one here, and then start to head higher. So there still is a way to move higher, but little tick for the bears here, 30-minute down into negative territory. Kind of want to see what the daily looks like here. And you're seeing we closed below the 5-day moving average, but we're kind of stuck. We're kind of stuck between the 20 and the 5. We can't decide what direction. So I would really see if we get that closing bar here, we can see that positivity for a couple of days. If we start to close below the 20, well, we could be spreading out these Bollinger Bands. We could be starting to go like this, pop up again, get that head and shoulders going on Meta here. So not looking the strongest for Meta at this moment, but we'll have to see. We have a long, long day ahead of us. Let's look at Palo Alto, see if that's going up or down right now. Looks like it wants to curl up. Could get into positive territory with this on the daily scale here, but this looks kind of flaggy to me, right? This looks a little bit flaggy to me, so I want to pull up a 2-hour, see what it looks like. Guess what? We could be rolling over with this flag into negative territory. That would be very bad. We could come down into this level. Maybe we see a bounce from there, but you have to say on the daily scale, we've caught up to the moving averages. We've bought ourselves some space so we can dip a lot deeper into this zone, coming all the way down possibly to 240.65. So we could see a 40-point move over the next few days, and it would make total sense. Microsoft, blow off top to the top. What do we do when we blow off up here? When we get outside of that Bollinger Band, yes, we are spreading it out. So you do have that crossing of the MACD to the upside, potential to go make some kind of divergence up here. This is a real good tick up for the bulls. You're starting to spread out those Bollinger Bands. we could come reconnect with some of these moving averages before we see more strength. So we want to see if this is really able to start to head up. We could create some kind of small divergence as of today on Microsoft. Not the best look from an investment standpoint, but still a solid little trade, right? Crossing here on above the moving averages, crossing on the MACD, starting to get above 50 here, about to get to overbought. So good move possible. We'll just have to see what happens with that throughout the day. Something that I did notice, Bitcoin. Bitcoin really dropped down, but you see that kind of support at the 20 at this point, but we're getting a red bar on the histogram here. So the last time we saw that red bar, we got it pretty much reverted back down almost to the 20, and then we saw that move up. So we could see this hold at lower levels, but if it wants to scoot back up, we'll have to pay attention if that's able to happen. I'd really like some kind of beatdown as we've headed up for so long. One thing we do have to keep our eye on: volatility. We need this to actually close above 200. You see how much of a struggle it is to close above 200. Every single time we get there, we start to reject. So we need this to close above 200 to really see that volatility come in. What'll that do? Well, it'll curl up this MACD again. So I said, hey, when this curls up, I believe the crash is going to be very, very close. It might even be happening right then. Yes. I think now we're seeing the first signs that this crash can really, really start to happen, especially if this curls up again into positive territory. You're looking for continued strength, though. We need continued strength for a couple of days. Get closing above this 200. The scary part is this 50 is squeezing closer and closer to that 200. That's your crash signal. All right, that was a lot of talking. Thank you guys for liking so more people can see this today. Dollar, something interesting. We're starting to break to the upside. If this curls up positive territory, we can see another move in the dollar. The 10-year, this is what really needs to be on our mind today. This thing can go ballistic. Look at that, positive territory. We could set up some kind of divergence down here, right? That would make sense to set up some kind of divergence, because most likely, if this thing keeps heading higher, this puts more and more pressure on the banks. This puts more and more pressure on the Fed to actually have to cut rates, right? Because they could have something break up in this area, or they could just say, hey, yeah, we're going to hold here for longer. Maybe that is an overcorrection at that point. So we'll want to pay attention to any divergences up here on the 10-year. It might give us a hint of like, hey, the Fed needs to cut right now. Momentum can do that. When are the Fed going to meet? I mean, if this yield goes higher, you might see an emergency meeting soon. I'm dead serious. Like, if this keeps going, like if we see another one strong bar and we start to break above this 4.362, we could see something crazy where they have to actually get together and say, we got to cut these rates. These banks are under too much pressure, but then if they cut the rates, then we have possible hyperinflation that can come into the market. So they can't, it's like they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. They can't cut the rates because inflation will go up. But if they don't cut the rates, the banks will start to fail. So you're in a recipe for disaster here. And most likely, if this goes up like this, and then you suddenly see it down, that most likely is going to hint that we are seeing some banks start to really, really struggle. SPY's just going down. Okay, so this is what we need to talk about. We have 6 minutes left till open. Gapping down below the daily expected move right away in the day. Very, very bad sign. You can actually use this as resistance now and start to head lower. I want to look at the Qs just because this isn't selling off as hard. I think the Qs hold more weight for the day as far as this expiration goes, but the SPY coming down to lower levels, that is very, very bad. Yes, Wednesday. And I'm a firm believer they really haven't changed their tone, but they might be forced to this time. I'm dead serious. They might be forced to. You have to know that the banks are in a crazy bad situation here. The financials here, just looking at the overall sector, you see how high this thing is. It is, if you're talking about a vertical parabolic move, a bubble, if you will, of its own. Look at that move ever since, what is this? October. Ever since October, we've just been skyrocketing up. Let's see how big this move was. Well, we've gone up 31% in about in less, what is that? That's 4 months, about 4 months. So SPY, if it can hold at these levels, this would be very, very rough to start off the day. You're really starting off with some bearishness. Now, when we break through here, where could we look for? I'd really pay attention to, if this thing gets crazy, we could go all the way down to 504. Like, I'm going to even create a line there because this is really where... Go right there. Let's go right there. 505, really just 505. I'm going to mark 505 right here. There you go. So this level here is going to be very important. If we see crazy amount of selling into today, so pretty much in the first like hour, you want to be buying back up. Like I would definitely say that in the first hour you want to be buying back up, or else this can really get ugly fast. This is where it can get very ugly when you gap below. AMD broke the weekly. Let me see AMD. Oh, AMD about to make a new low in the pre-market here. NVIDIA about to make a new low in this move right here, but we're still within this channel. I want to see some escalated selling out of NVIDIA. Let's look at Amazon. Amazon was strong. Amazon not strong anymore. All right, Amazon dropping off as well, coming below this wick at this point. We have to see if this wants to roll over. Something on Amazon we can look at is this 2 hour. Look for this 2 hour to just roll back over into negative territory. You could be getting some kind of double top here. Okay, double top. You see the divergence right here on the MACD. On the RSI, it's just so small I can't draw on it sometimes. But yeah, this is one I'll want to pay attention to throughout the day. The Qs still heading lower. So Apple, I wonder what that's doing. Oh, Apple chunking down. This is where you want to say, hey, if this crosses, if this starts to gap below here, that would be very bad. That could really escalate. We could see Apple go... Let's find a point here to pay attention to. Probably this at least 165.68. Maybe we set up something there. If we don't set up something there, let's look at this price action over here. Well, we went up pretty fast from here. So maybe this level here. Do you see those touches there? Maybe this 157 is where we can look out for next week. But this 2 hour is going to start to roll over, and that is not a good thing. Let's look at an hourly just to see. Yeah, I guess you could just pay attention if this hourly goes negative and is able to remain outside of the weekly expected move. Let's watch the SPY early on in the day on like a 30-minute, maybe even a 15-minute. Just see if like we can really see this negative trend like continuing at this point. But this is pretty ugly. Maybe some traps both ways. And that's kind of what I thought with this downward move would be some kind of trap, and then we'd head up. But you notice the trap didn't happen this time. This regular trap, right? When we come down to lower levels, trap, go to higher, trap, go to lower, trap. So the fact that we went lower, it technically you would say this isn't a trap at this point. We didn't get faked out by that end of day buying, and now we're just keeping this going. So that is a good, when you start to not have a trap, it kind of means, oh, we might be really going negative here. 1805, but I think closed it too early. Oh, maybe. Something with that, like you can always pay attention to the daily expected move if you're nervous, like, and you want to get out of something, you made enough money, you can always just wait till it comes down to like 435.04 and then sell the option. That's what I do a lot of the time. SPY looks like Wyckoff. Kind of like a slanted Wyckoff. Look at this. Kind of like a slanted one, right? You see the slant, and then you get that breakout to the upside. You get the breakout to the downside, breakout to the upside, and now we confirm that down. Sketch, Georgie, sketch. This is a sell-off. I can't, and the one I'm worried about, I am worried about Amazon. Yeah, this is why I was worried about Amazon. Look at that thing. Oh my God. Whoa. Now, this is where we might see market manipulation. I'm dead serious, because if you gap this low and you're able to buy back up, that is something's off. Something's off if this actually buys back up from this area. And when I say buy back up, I mean if this doesn't come up and get some kind of rejection, Like if this is able to just boom in the first hour, you know that is market manipulation. You just know. Okay, so let's start looking across the board, opening up. Let's look at the actually, Amazon had that crazy reaction. Let's see if that can load for me real quick. Amazon, really, I was saying this would be a crazy reaction because we gapped here and boom, we saw buying immediately. So we could see market manipulation today. I'm just seeing 15-minute. I want this to start that negative trend. We still have that daily below us, 176.01. So early on in the day, we can react off that. Yes, we can see major volatility start to increase. Volatility up 2% now. So right out the gate, we're seeing that volatility come in. Nvidia dropping to lower levels, but we need this to really escalate. If this just comes down like this, we could see that reaction by end of day. So we want to see if this market's going to be manipulated today. And you see AMD starting to buy back up. Meta starting to really just hold where it's at, actually. I really would expect Meta to see some weakness, but this would be bad setup for next week. If it did this by end of day, then you're pretty much guaranteed like, hey, this thing's going down next week, which would be interesting if we head down before the Fed actually talks. That would be very, very interesting. Google with that strong move starting to curl back down. Remember, we were looking at a 2-hour here. It was able to go way positive. Okay, so you have to be careful here. See if this thing actually is able to turn back up in positive territory. This was a very strong move. Now, if this just rolls right back down, we could just be seeing, some kind of sudden drop. How vertical will that be would be pretty important. So if we're just kind of tapering off like this, we can flag and then head higher. So a lot of stocks might get very manipulated. We're going to watch the SPY to see if any of that's happening at this point. 30-minute would be good to watch. So if this crosses up positive territory, we can see an upward move. Crazy, though. Crazy that we're going to see possibly some market manipulation. Gapping lower, not a good sign. Well, even the overall market, they refused to let it go down yesterday. Did you see how they refused to let it go down? That is something to pay attention to. I usually just like to, at least for my trading, I've never really used the extended. Now I've looked at extended for earnings and things like that. I've looked at price action. I'll look at it, but I won't necessarily use it for my TA. Just because of like overall it's like volume in the aftermarket can be a little bit so it could like fake out a little bit. So I just like to see what the reaction is in the actual real market hours. Oh, you're good. You're good, Samurai. Oh gosh, but like the stream, guys, make sure a bunch of people are seeing this, and if people do come in and you need those daily ranges again real quick, we can go through them this morning as we kind of look through the SPY, Qs, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, NVIDIA, AMD. So SPY 516.76 to the upside, 513.12 to the downside, and we're gapping below that. That is very bad. Now, this is a small range, so what did I say right when I opened the stream? I bet you money we're getting outside of this, and the SPY was down to here. Now it's down outside of it, so we can use that as resistance and head lower. The market is it seems bearish for the SPY, like a 5.0 put to call ratio. So we could see that selling just pile on and see some kind of reaction on Monday, or this could buy back up. We could see some kind of squeeze. So we'll have to pay attention to what's going on throughout the day. Q is not outside of its daily range at this point. 443.32 to the upside, 435.04 to the downside. Still not there. And actually, you could set up some kind of divergence down here if you're able to curl back up. So at this level, once we get here, you can see this come back down, see that curl back up. Good sign that we're actually going to head higher into next week. Even with the SPY breaking down, we can get some serious market manipulation. And the reason I keep saying that is because the SPY dropped down really, really quick. And then we saw Amazon drop down really, really quick. And then it just started to go up immediately. That is sketch. Okay. Apple curling back down. Really looks like this one wants to get into negative territory, but you are at that daily expected move down here, 170.80 to the downside and 175.38 to the upside. So you're still looking for a break of this range that we've been in. Yeah, so there are more puts than calls, and those are expiring today. So you expect that selling to come in. I'm just saying if they can hold at higher levels, then those people can get squeezed today. So we could see a bunch of wonky price action because people probably made good money off this move already, right? A 5 point move right out the gate. If they start to get down to this level or something like that, we can really see a reaction just because all those people probably take profit. Maybe we see some buying up at this level, but we'll have to see what happens. Negative territory. This is a negative trend, guys. This is a negative trend at this point on the 30-minute. Tesla's one that we're watching the upside of that daily range, right? 167, 53 to the upside, 157.49 to the upside. Be very interesting to come in this zone today. We're seeing that cross up. If you want to take this divergence into account, just note that as we get into the higher time frames, you only have that on the MACD. So if we do get a reaction here, that might curl back around on the 2-hour. Okay, so watch that 2-hour, seeing some resistance come in. But Tesla, really one of the only green ones today. Amazon dropping off. This was the one that had me immediately saying market manipulation. Because if you see a stock start here and immediate, like within 1 second, it was like boom. That's kind of crazy. And then we get that wicking. So maybe some big guy needed to push the stock higher in order to sell his position at this level. I don't know, but this is not the best behavior at this point. Good morning, Frank. Oh, if the yield goes past our level of 4.362, it's bad. Oh, sorry. Let's read those off for you. So Amazon here, if you are looking at Amazon this morning, thank you so much for liking the stream. I'm seeing that heart button get ticked. Remember to hit that button so that more people can get these ranges today. If you need the rest of the ranges, just scroll back a couple minutes to where we started off with the SPY to get those. And then catch back up to us live, okay? 181.57 to the upside, 176.01 to the downside for Amazon. So a pretty good range for Amazon, and we're starting to head to the bottom of that range for the day. NVIDIA, this one I actually expected a bigger range. The implied volatility was pretty high on this. This still is a pretty good move though. 907.80 to the downside, 851.84 to the downside, and 907.80 to the upside. So we're still within this kind of controlled selling at this point. But you have to wonder, is this being manipulated, right? Is it being manipulated to not be able to sell off more dramatically? Now you have lost the 5 on the daily scale. So that's something to pay attention to, but you're stuck in between the 20 and the 5, right? So we have to see if we're going to actually see a breakdown, or maybe we break above the 5 today because we're so close to like both of them at this point. And how would you say it's going to be identical to 2023? Please give me your input. I am ready for it. Now, the 30-minute here for AMD, this is what we posted on Patreon. We were like, look out for this divergence, but that rolled over and started to kind of violate down here. So that's kind of not what you want to see. Now you don't have that divergence on the RSI, so a little less confident that this thing can buy back up, right? So the daily range for AMD today is going to be this 131, 131, 193.11 to the upside, 181.51 to the downside. And just remember, this 191.26 is the weekly expected move. So we gave you the weekly expected move. This is an area where we can get rejection and head lower. So you have to be very cautious now. We're outside of that weekly. We have to be careful. Now you do still have that chance to roll back up, get that manipulation to come in if they don't want this thing to crash down. We'll have to see. But when things like this are happening, right, the 10-year still going higher. This is still going higher at this moment. Look how much time it took us to get up to that 4.362. Now we drop way off. Well, the last time it took us a little bit of time to get there, right? This time it's taken no time. That puts a ton of pressure on it. So we have to watch this today. Volatility, we have to watch it today. Look at that. We're getting that green bar on the histogram down here. This could be the moment. Now, it doesn't mean next week we can't get some kind of, bounce or something like that in the overall market. But if this closes above the 200 today, very, very bad sign. So we just want to keep our eye on the SPY. Now, did the SPY already curl over on its 2-hour? I'm pretty sure there's divergences up here. So you already got that curl over on the 2-hour. We got the hint. This is what I talked about in my video, that you guys couldn't see last night, but it curled over on the 2 hour, so we have to be open to that downside potential, even with that big green bar at the end of the day. So it looks like we have a direction as of today. It's just quad witching is giving us that direction maybe, but also I think it's the yields. I think the yields are really freaking people out today. And then these yields, this is TLT doing the job for the Fed. That's what it is. It's TLT being like, look, look at that data. We need this thing to go lower. It just crossed on this MACD to the downside into negative territory here. Most likely we're going to see a breakup of those yields. Let's see if we can find a point where that might stop. Well, we might want to connect this and say, hey, this is in a falling wedge at this point, and we could see some kind of reaction once we get down into these levels. But when you are in a wedge like this also, and we could just see those yields keep trickling higher and higher, right? We could just see something like this go on over time. So pay attention to this, though. This might be a nice little TLT trade because, if they are forced to cut rates, TLT can boom. Okay, so Hond, I'm going to read your stuff. Okay, we came into the year with rate cut hopes and had them slash mid-year with more rate cut hopes towards the end of the year heading into the next. Yeah, so that's why the market's going up. It's going up, so that's what people are saying. When the rate cuts are on the table, like when the rate cuts are said to be coming, that's when the bullishness can come in. It's the rumor of rate cuts. Okay, rate cuts are coming, rate cuts are coming, rate cuts are coming. Then once they actually do cut rates, it's usually in something like this because something breaks in the system. You notice they didn't cut rates in the first quarter of 2024. Then they said they were not in as good of control of inflation at this point. They need to watch more data. That is very bad because the banks are struggling right now. People are struggling right now. The delinquency rates are crazy. I wonder if this was updated. Commercial banks. You see this delinquency rate starting to be at a low here, could pop up to a new high. We want to see when that actual reading comes out. The next reading will come out in January 2024. Let's see. Maybe this thing isn't the best to watch, guys, but the credit card one is one that I like to look at. Rate all loans, credit card loans, and you see this. Look at this one, okay? So credit card loans, all commercial banks, all right? Divergence, positive territory. What happened the last time we got into positive territory? Let's see. This bottom was 2005. Started to see that tick up. 2006, started to see that tick up. It boomed in 2007. So this is when the pressure came in. So 2007 is maybe going to repeat itself a little bit here with these delinquencies on credit card loans, all commercial banks, right? So this is just something that I like to watch a little bit. Oh, I'm on a 3-month now. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff you can just look at, just to see what's happening. And right now you're seeing that divergence. Now we're getting some direction. We're starting to break down. Weirdly enough, because I didn't put out a video last night, I watched Ron Walker for like 10 minutes, and he's a really big believer that this thing is going to just like tank when it actually happens. I think it'll be more stair-steppy. I think it'll be more of a fight, like go like this, bounce up, go like this, get a small one, go like this, get a big one, come down. That's how I think it'll be, but he's kind of thinking like, hey, we're going to just plunge down to here, get some kind of bounce, plunge down to here, which makes sense for the month of March, actually. If we came down to this area before March is over, we could see that land back in this zone, right? This is the zone. Between these yellow lines is the monthly here, right? That's why we give you the monthly. We could see if some kind of reaction, get that right shoulder, and then maybe we see something really bad come out come April. So, or we're just going to see that bad thing now. We're going to see this escalate, maybe just crash down. If it starts to pull down below this, we could see something crazy. I just think the probability is higher to get this like that if we're going to get a crash. He thinks it's going to bleed. Yeah, and that's kind of the overall vibe I got from him. He's like, it's over. But what he put in his thumbnail is rate cuts are off the table, and he has to be right. He is definitely And I get a wake up call? And yeah, let's set an alarm for when it happens. Because he's totally well. I didn't go look at the other ones, but I wonder if I can look at. Let's see if it'll give previous week, March 8th. Core inflation. These are high numbers. These are not saying progress at this point. Okay. Now we come down. PPI. This ticked way up. This is very, very bad. Retail sales, 0.6, still hot. So this is just he's just spot on. He's spot on. He's like, yeah, they can't cut rates now. If they do, inflation's coming back. And he's 100% right. That's exactly how you have to look at it. If you cut rates, inflation comes back harder. So they can't cut rates. Therefore, if TLT pushes the rates higher by selling, then it puts banks under pressure, and then the banks can actually collapse. And that would be very, very bad for the overall market. That's really why I think a banking crisis is here. That doesn't sound like a soft no landing. Man, it really doesn't. And that's actually a funny way to put it, Frenchie. You said soft or a no landing. Do you know what a no landing would be? Who in the chat thinks they know what no landing would be? In my mind. Well, I guess you wouldn't know what's in my mind. But if you would have to say, right now, we're not landing. We're flying high. What if we continue to fly high? What if we continue to fly high? If we just continue to fly high for the next 10 years, what do you think happens? I'm going to give you 10 more seconds to type what you think. TLT has an effect on rates? Yes, it does. Bond traders can force the Fed's hand. Bond traders can do the work for you. Bond traders, most of the time, the market is the one actually working with it. Run out of gas stagflation. I would have to say if we keep flying high, we most likely are increasing our debt, which is going to increase our GDP, which is going to make us fly higher, which would include, to me, I would have to say we are probably going into hyperinflation if we get no landing. No landing means we continue doing what we're doing, right? What are we doing right now? Well, look at this, right? We're just blowing off top. So VIX up 0.4 now. VIX is up 0.5 now. Specifically TLT. TLT can. Yes, it can. Look at this. TLT sells it. 10-year pops up. Yep. It's the same thing. You're just trading the it's not a fiat. I can't remember the name for it, but TLT. Maybe it tells me. Yeah, you're just trading based on the value of those bonds. So people are selling, saying we don't want to invest in the value of those bonds. So therefore, like you have to say those bonds are worth less money. So then it comes down in price. Those bonds become worth less. People start to get, well, the bonds become worth less. That means that the 10-year becomes worth more. Do I think the market is topped? I think so at this point. Unless we see that market manipulation going into next week or the next piece of data. But I think that this is the reason you have to say, hey, I think the market's topped. Because something bad is going to happen up in this area. QQQ, please. Yeah. And if you guys need those daily ranges, make sure to scroll back. We went through them again. We're seeing a sell signal now. I mean, take that with a grain of salt. I don't really follow the buy and sell signals for this indicator. I do like them. It kind of makes me feel better sometimes, right? But yeah, let's look at this on like a 30-minute. And you see the potential. Now we're breaking through that level. So we're just cutting right through it. We're not using it as support or anything at this point. We'll have to see if that holds. You really want to close below it. But we could be seeing something pretty dramatic here. Our money ain't worth none. Ivan, you're right. This is called a fiat currency. This is not real money. If you guys were a part of this channel for a long time, I think we did a video like in my first 2 months on this channel, and I was like, if we want to fix all of our problems in this world, all of our problems with money, we need to stop going into debt on the national scale, stop giving money to other countries, go back to the gold standard. We need to fix our home right now. That's overall what I think. I think our house of cards is about to crash, and therefore our house is about to crash. And that can be very bad for the entire world because we've dipped our hand into so many places. We really need to fix our home first and then see what happens. Now, this could be your big, right? This could be a very complex head and shoulders at this point, right? We get this liquidity in here. We pop up higher, people sell off. We have some people probably stuck up here. We get that head. Now we have a bunch of liquidity here. And you notice this flagging didn't break to the upside, it broke down. So you do have the potential, if we break through this level, to cut through pretty fast, come down to this area. Now, once we get down to that area, maybe we get some kind of bounce because GTC and that kind of thing. And then we have to see Wednesday what the actual Fed's going to do. So on Wednesday, we are going to be live during, not the morning, guys. We're going to be live for when the actual data is dropped. So actually, let me pull that up and tell you guys the exact time that we will be live. 57 likes. Let's see if we can get that to 100. Make sure everyone gets to see this video on YouTube, especially our subscribers, because, you know, we were giving you those daily ranges. And if you need those daily ranges, we went through them towards the beginning and somewhere in the middle. So there's a few areas you can scroll to find those daily ranges, and we can click around throughout the morning here. This here, we wanted to see what time we'll be live next week. We went previous week. We went recent. Okay, so on Wednesday, that would be 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So pretty much 2 hours before close, we're going to get the Fed interest rate. That's when we will be live. 2 hours before close, whatever time that is for you. 1:30, we're going to watch this press conference. We could get a wake-up call from the Fed, or they could announce some kind of rate cut. And then that might actually cause some bullishness for a little bit. But if that yield keeps rising, that would be very nutty. Cash is king here. Very true. And look at that. We're not able to break down at this point, which is interesting. We've built up so much liquidity here. You really would expect us to break down. Most likely on the daily scale, we got a moving average below us. Nope, we're actually below both. Okay, so one thing about these Bollinger Bands, remember we were talking about these Bollinger Bands a little bit. One of the things that I'm learning and really backtesting still, even to this day, I'm still backtesting a little bit on other stocks. But if this 5 day is able to cross the 20, you come and touch that bottom Bollinger like 95% of the time. It's like 95% of the time. You literally cross the 20, okay, you come down. Now I'm trying to see if that works for individual stocks. I haven't really seen too much. AMD actually up now, so NVIDIA starting to hold its ground. This is what we were talking about, especially if they want to manipulate the market, they're going to use euphoria in NVIDIA and things like that. So if this wanted to head up, you built up liquidity here, you can use this to head higher. Now you have your left right here. You have a head. If we're able to curl up, get some kind of reaction here, that would make total sense. This line is actually very good. 907.80. Sure, I thought it would be a little bit wider, maybe up to this level, like 910, 920. But since it's at 907.80, I mean, this area makes sense for some resistance to come in. But if we're able to just kind of use that or blow past that, that would be a good sign. Still able to curl up in positive territory. This might be a good area here to make some money the opposite way on people. But you have to be so freaking cautious. Like, who said it? Richard, I think cash is king today. I don't know if you want to play into this madness. Now, AMD starting to make a move higher. We'll have to see what happens with that. I would really look at this hourly. Oh, wait, no, it wasn't hourly. Was it 15? Oh, I guess it was the 30-minute. You see that flatness of the MACD, right? So you can get some kind of bounce, but you do have this downward move in the RSI. So it's not really convincing me like, hey, this thing's going to go make a new all-time high. It was when it was here. When it was here, I was like, there's potential. But now that it's here, you see it's totally different. And we can see that just roll back down next week. And really, like this level here could be a point of support. So where it's at right now, it makes a little bit of sense for some support to come in there. But is this kind of completing some kind of big cup with a handle? You know, we most likely want to complete that cup around this area here. So maybe we get some kind of pop higher, drop down, create a handle, and then head down. So that's overall how I see it. But if it wants to get manipulated, they most likely would use AMD and NVIDIA because it's so much euphoria. It's a very good distraction. SPY looking so weak. But see the keys, they just keep holding up, man. They just keep holding up. Tesla was up, now it's down. So it was crossed over. Now it's not so much. How's your guys' day going so far? How's your morning going with this little bit of a crazy open? 25 minutes in here. Just want to see how everyone's doing out there. And NGYY, thank you for subscribing 11 hours ago. It's up here on this. Ronnie Ray, new subscriber. Strezlecki. Thank you for subscribing. I bought some puts yesterday before close. Same girl, same. Baby girl's been a little bit better. She was everything's good at the doctor, just so everyone knows. I'll have to see if anything comes about from some of these things I got over here. The AMD, this is like the first really strong bar you've had in a very long time, right? This is the first very strong bar you've had in a while. So if this wants to see that positivity, maybe they use AMD and NVIDIA to actually, manipulate this market. People can get excited from here. We can start to head up into next week, head up into GTC. We could hit over 1,000 still in NVIDIA with GTC, and then we see that all ripped away by the Fed like the next day. So be very cautious with that event. We could see some crazier price action over the next few days here. Happy for baby girl. Thank you, Ivan. I appreciate that. We really do. It's been a tiring week, but everything's fine. We just have to be even more diligent with how we're taking care of her, making sure she's getting that gas out and things like that. You don't even think about that either. You're like when you're a baby, you have to learn how to toot. Goodness. Buy the rumor, sell the news. Exactly. Happy Friday. So buy the rumor, sell the news. Most likely you're going to see buying into that rumor. GDC gets people all hyped. If we do go to a new all-time high, get up to that 1,000 mark, yeah, that can happen. This is how we would do it, right? We would do this. Then we would use all this to launch higher. Then we would launch higher, maybe even test that high. Be cautious, though, if we do make a lower high. You have a gun. We have a gun case right there. You see it? You see the little metal thing right here? There's like 5 of them in there, I think. You might need one because this might put us into some kind of crazy, we said the Great Recession. This might put us into a depression. It has the potential to put us into a depression. We've talked about this over the weekend and things like that. If you just go look at the monthly scale, we have the potential to do it. We have the potential to roll over, go into negative territory on a monthly scale. That means we could see much lower prices, maybe a SPY down to 156. It is possible. Now, if we want to keep the game going, which I think most likely we will, we could see this come down to this area. You see my green line right at 329.55, and then we see some kind of reaction up very quickly, maybe sometime in 2025. That would make some sense because maybe we just like kind of turn it around. Maybe Biden gets into office, actually, and we see that turn around, so we could get triple divergence. But really, you see a divergence on the monthly. This most likely could head to lower levels. You have to be open to those things. It sounds crazy, but it's those who aren't willing to at least look at those types of things to be like really caught off guard by it. So have it in your brain, be like, it is a possibility. If I see the signal, I know to be very cautious. Don't sit there and say like, oh yeah, it's going to crash down to $100. I'm saying it can. It very well can if those things start to confirm over the next few months. NVIDIA just turned negative. AMD turning down a little bit now, almost 0 on the day again. So we'll have to see what's happening with that. And Apple, let's see if that's breaking down. It's holding up right where it needs to. Let's just check these ranges real quick. Not there yet. Amazon broken through. Okay, so Amazon, we can start to use that as resistance at this point. NVIDIA still holding up at higher levels. AMD holding in between the range at this point. I don't have the range for Meta, but we want to see if it can break the bottom side here, because now you have head and shoulders for Meta as well. Look how much this looks like the market at this point, right? Left, head, now you got the right shoulder. This can start to break down as of next week. It doesn't mean like early on next week we can't see some kind of bounce up or something like that. Or if this wants to, sorry, I clicked my mouse a bunch. If this wants to roll down hard like today, and then we see that reaction next week, and then we start to break down, because we just went over Meta, but this would make total sense. Like, oh, we see some kind of big breakdown, we buy back up, and then we see that breakdown one more time. So it could be like, oh, breakdown. Fed announces they're going to cut rates, and they give the time where they're going to cut it, and then right around that time we get a bank failure, and then it turns right back down. It would be very, very bad. All right, let's go see. The Qs are what I want to watch as of right now, because it's breaking through. Look at that breaking through. We're closing out of our calls. Just the last one I had another just big play into the end of today. And I was like, oh, no, we're going to save our money there, but our puts are looking pretty good at this point. So just to let you know, Amazon's the one that I'm trading as of right now. We're getting kind of the peaks up here, lower high again. So I just figured this was a good point to kind of just go a little bearish on Amazon with this strong move. A little bit of a double top here. Now we're playing that out. So this is what I'm going to play right now. We'll have to see if I can get this to roll over into negative territory. Maybe this will actually crash down. So where I believe Amazon would actually go to, if we see extreme selling into today, that range will be maybe pretty wide for next week. We actually could see over the next couple weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, we see that dip all the way down to 166 and then get some kind of bounce. That's what I would really pay attention to for Amazon at this point, because that is some selling coming in right there. My goodness. Come on, SPY, load, dang it. What's the lower range for the QQQ for today? That would be 435.04. We are breaking through it at this moment. This is where you kind of have to get some support to come in, but you see the structure. We have kind of a complex head and shoulders here. Big amount of liquidity between this head and even kind of a double top with that. Like, this is really, really close to being invalidated, but I would say it holds true. I'd really just say a bunch of liquidity up in this area at this point. So if you break through the low, you can head very quickly down. So really pay attention to this right here. This is your last line in the sand. That low there being 433.65. So yeah, there's your downward range though, 435.04. We can keep it on this for a little bit here. You see the 2 hour going into negative territory. This is what we were mentioning a couple days ago. Just pay attention when things start to roll over. Could be your first sign, but you want to get deep down into there, kind of like your Teslas and your Apples. They're pretty deep down into there. That's what you want, because then they don't have that. They don't have a as high of a probability to go back to positive territory if they're pretty deep without any divergences. My goodness. Pardon me. If you're not subscribed to the channel, give us a sub. You know what I'm saying? If you really enjoy, some of these daily ranges, we do give them out for the SPY and the Qs every single night on YouTube. As long as my stuff's working. Gabo, salutations. Salutations. Okay, I really want to see if Bloomberg is talking about this at all. I'm genuinely want to see what is being talked about as of right now. Jennifer Ryan, what do you got to say?
I mean, do they feel confident? Are they a little bit more enthusiastic than investors are, perhaps? Consumers are expecting, broadly speaking, they are expecting interest rates to come down over the next
Expecting it
year.
to come
And,
down over the next year.
that was a pretty sharp change in consumer views or consumer expectations over interest rates over the last 3 to 6 months. So even though most consumers really aren't paying that close attention to developments in financial markets, more broadly, they do expect the interest rates that they face to come down. We don't
Really,
really know
guys,
much about
remember,
what they're
they
thinking in
expect
terms
the
of
interest
timing,
rates to come
but every month there's an increasing
down.
number who expect interest rates to soften.
Down.
I mean, do we read anything
We
from the
expect the
fact that
interest rates to
things are
come
just
down.
slowing
We
over time?
expect
Like,
them
is
to
this
come
sort of
down. We
the tightening
expect
that we've
them to
been
come
waiting
down.
for and the consumer sentiment a bit lighter so they just buy and spend less? Like, is this kind of what we've been waiting for the last year and
Complacency
a half?
stage, we just need to
It's
cool off
possible, but
before the
it's
next rally,
I
next
the
anxiety,
part of the
denial,
thing is
panic,
that
anger.
excuse me, part of
We
the
very
reason
well
that
could see a
consumers
rally
are
into next week. But if we
not
drop
really
lower,
moving a whole
this
lot in
is
the sentiment is
lower
that
than
there's a
this
good chunk of
point. If we
consumers
hold below
who
this
are
by end
thinking
of
about the
day,
election at
you
head,
start to really
and
tick up, hey, this is the top.
and a lot of consumers are telling us
Just that's
spontaneously
my opinion, Mark.
that the
The
trajectory of the
signals will
economy
go
very much
so
depends
negative
on the
if you get
result
down
of
to the levels
November's
that you're
election.
most
So I
likely
think
going
there are
to.
people who are
Like
just
on the Qs,
reserving
you're coming
judgment
down to
right now.
here.
Whether
That
that's
two
going to affect
hour
their
will
spending is a
come
little bit
like on
hard
the
to say
MACD down
because
here.
I
That
think
means the 2 hour will
even
be
though they're
like way
reserving
down
judgment,
here. Look how much it will take.
they're
It
still
would take like
expecting
3 days worth of buying
two
to get back
possible
up into
outcomes,
positive territory. So you can see those
and
bounces.
and
3 day
see as
bounces, we
in the
see
months
those, but a lot
ahead
of the
as it
time they're a
comes into
little bit
focus,
weak, kind of
if
flaggy,
that starts
and then it
to
drops
move
again.
sentiment one
That's
way or
when you
the
could see
other.
divergence
I
and we can get
noticed
a
that
more
in your data,
meaningful
you
bounce.
do
But
poll Republicans versus Democrats versus
oh,
independents on how they're feeling.
hold
So
on.
is there any interesting change there this month?
I just realized I'm talking while someone else is talking, and they're talking about politics again. So I'm like, bounce on 508. This is your last line in the sand. I marked it. I told you 433.65 for the Qs is where you kind of have to bounce from. And you really could see that bounce. And then, with this SPY, you really want to look at this low 508.50. Look at that. It's right on the dot. 508.50 is where we bounced from. Sketch, first of all, sus. And so if we come down to that level, that's where we want to pay attention to. But remember, on the shorter time frames, 15-minute well into negative territory. So if we're going to see this market manipulated, you might see some crazy buying, some kind of crazy news come out or something like that. But look how it's escalated as we gap below that daily expected move. That's the craziness we can see. That's why I kind of put out that warning really fast on AMD and things like that. But AMD seeing a little bit of a pop here. Oh, still no. AMD saw that pop by about 1%. Now it's giving it up. The thing is here, this is where we can see support come in. Look for rejection now on this 15-minute. If we curl up, curl back down, that can be bad. You're decently into negative territory. I don't want you to think this is like thin. Look at that. You're decently down into negative territory. You have the potential to roll over again if you get some kind of bounce. Let's see, kind of like over here, like this level here. We're almost to that level right now, kind of like right here. We see that kind of like roll up, and then we come back down to lower prices. Then you create a divergence. That is more what you would like to see before you're thinking about trading any of this. You break 508.50, we can flush. Yes, you can flush all the way down to 505. That's why we marked it off early on in the day. We said 505 is going to be where we could really flush to if we start to break down. But as of right now, you're seeing that wick a little bit. So we have to see if they're going to let the market come down. See if these market makers will let it happen, because I can tell you that a lot of them probably weren't expecting this. How do I know that? Because this is what they expected. This is all they expected for the SPY, which part of me wants to go, that has to be incorrect. But as the Qs are breaking through their level, I'm like, hey, I guess it is correct. We're starting to break through these levels here. But you see the Qs are pretty good into negative, not as far as the SPY, I don't think, but we could see that curl back up into positive, but it would take a good amount of buying. Really, this structure in here, you kind of just broke through, right? So we have this here. We can clone that bad boy. Boom. Look at that. We see a little bit of structure going on into this, and we just notice we just broke to the downside, so we weren't able to turn that back up. Zero DTE, JK, 328. See, that's fine. That's fine. Zero DTE. So the SPY giving you those signals, really just saying, hey, I'm ready to go down from here. I think we're going to see this manipulated. I think we're going to see some kind of uptick. But if we can close at these levels, where did we start off the week? Well, we started off the week right here, and we've gotten to right here. So nothing too crazy when you look week to week. But when you add some of this stuff going on, it gets a little crazier. But if we end below this point, that weekly range can spread out into next week. And we do have the Fed rate decision, so we could see a pretty wide range. So I'm saying if we close down here, this range can now be down at this level down here. SQQQ calls. Very interesting play there. Very interesting. I see people do that pretty often. Go look at some stuff. Let's see how expensive stuff is. I want to see the overall. This CPC really faked me out yesterday. TLT actually going positive now. Maybe they're like, hey, yeah, this is high enough. This is high enough. Alrighty then. SQQ will keep going down forever. That's true. It does decay. It has decay in it. I just was pulling up the daily here just to see, see those divergences, but also see like what kind of candle we're getting as of right now. Still a little bit indecision at this point. Kind of going to be maybe stuck between the 20 and the 5. So we want to see when that actually crosses. That's a good sign. Hey, we're heading to the bottom of the monthly possibly. So if we're able to close more down towards this area, you would say, okay, well, next week, maybe that weekly range spreads out a little bit. We'll have to see. Now, if we end up in this area right over here, you can see we started out the week right at this point right here. So if we have it a little bit lower or end the week right up in here, we could see that reaction down to 505, down to the 502, and then see that right shoulder, like a little bit of structure here. But on the daily scale, you would say, okay, we're probably heading down lower, going to get that right shoulder over here. So that's all I would say, but not a good look when you look at these divergences. Really, really bad look, honestly, throughout this whole run. Bounce up, this is where you can bounce from, but now you're below those ranges, right? So you want to see if that holds as resistance. That's why we might actually go into let's go into a 5. Let's start watching a 5-minute. Start watching the SPY if we're going to get some kind of bounce. Let's look at the Qs. It's closer. Do you see the rejection? Look at this. The first 5-minute bar. Do you see this rejection? Okay, we break through. Boom. We kind of try to get it back above it. We reject. What do? We literally touch it. The high of this candle, 435.03. The weekly expected move, or the daily expected move, 435.04. We'll have to see if this can buy back above it. You see that little bit of resistance come in. So we have to see if this holds. If it doesn't hold, you have the opportunity to recover from here. It's able to come up. Or at least get some kind of bounce. Then I would just say this selling in here, maybe it bounces up to the center, right in the middle. That would make total sense. If we just bounce right up to the middle, that would make sense for the day. But I think it'll be more of a struggle than we think. It might be like this, it might be like this, and then this. It might be break up, break further down, then see the bigger move, then see that breakdown later on. So still wonky price action, trading like water. That's the strat. Move this mic a little closer so you guys can hear my beautiful voice. All right, so I'm going to go for another 45 minutes here. I'm going to, at 9:45, we're going to break down all the stocks that we're covering on this channel, and we're going to look at how they're reacting around those daily expected moves. Let's just do a little click through on this 5-minute for a few. The SPY, this is where it can get really dangerous. You do have this gap way up here. We can go fill that maybe next week. But you have to be careful. Even on this 5-minute, any kind of pop you get can just roll over back down into negative territory. We're pretty deep, okay? So even if this gets towards that center line, look for that to curl back around. Wait for it to get to positive territory before you get anything bullish. This is a, you have the 5, 15, 30-minute, even the 2-hour all going negative trend at this point. So good shot. This is the top here. Qs, right? Still breaking down. We have to see if that resistance holds, but we could get some kind of reaction up and see that curl back down. So pay attention to that for today. But we also could see that manipulation come in. We could see this go higher. Now, I'm not saying higher as in new all-time high at this point. We have to look at some stuff over the next, we'd probably need to see Monday's price action to say, okay, are we going to actually head higher here? If I had to deal with PDT, is that your ticker? Oh, God. We need to stay on track here, guys. Apple, this is the point where you really want to pay attention to Apple. 170.80. This is what the market expected for the entire day. 170.80 doesn't mean we still can't get that reaction up. Look, we're just stuck in a range, right? We're just stuck in a range at this point. Tons of liquidity here. So we can see, oh, PDT rule. Okay. We'll look at that in a moment. But for now, I'll keep that in mind. I'll keep it in mind. We'll talk about it in a second. But let me get through these real quick. Apple just hitting the bottom side of that that daily expected move. Sorry, I'm trying to keep it straight. You guys know that my sleep's a little bit low. I'm in. Actually, I slept pretty good last night. I would say that, but I think I'm still catching up. So we're still down in this negative territory. We see pops, we can see drops. Thank you so much for subscribing, Dustin. And then Tesla here breaking down to lower rules. No, there's more to it than. Well, we're looking at these. We have a bunch of divergences here with Tesla. We see those divergences. We got that to play out. Is that going to remain in positive territory? That's what we have to look at here. Tesla breaking down below that daily expected move at this point, right? Breaking below it. Now we're going to see if that's able. This kind of looks like the Qs at this point. We have to see if that's able to hold as resistance. NVIDIA here. It has the potential, even on the 5-minute, you're getting some structure for this 2 bounce. I would like to say that. AMD up 1.4 now. So this is kind of interesting. This is kind of interesting at this point. Steve, we'll probably see it pop up then, Mr. Asphalt. Oh god. Okay, but this cup handle could form here on Meta. But AMD is really what I'm paying attention to at this moment. 15-minute. See if that can curl back up. It did. 30 minutes. See if that can curl back up. All right, I was going to look up PDT. Someone tell me, is there a PD? What's the PDT rule? I'm sorry. I was like, I need to get through these, but my calls get saved by NVIDIA today. They very well might. They very well might. And I think you want to also pay attention to Amazon because this thing's been moving higher. See if that can make another move. But really, I just want to see, okay, now the 30-minute, can this curl up? But is that curl up going to last? Really want to see NVIDIA starting to go positive here. Can curl up into positive territory, right? So plenty of stuff can happen here today. Yeah, I don't do any day trading for the most part. I almost want to because I think they're going to manipulate NVIDIA here. I really want to. But there it is, Steve. I really want to, but I'm just so sketched out by this entire move, the SPY breaking down to this level. And if it just holds here and flags out for a while, we can see this continue to drop. But this could be interesting because that means we could be dropping into an area where we have major support, right? 505, major support there. So some big buying up from that area. So if we actually drop down below this area, margin accounts can't have same day trades with less than 25K in your account. Oh. So is that like if you day trade too many times and you don't have enough funding, they just like don't allow you to trade? 3 day trades in a 5-day period. Oh, what is that on? I don't think I've ever run into that. I don't think I've ever run into that. Not in a cash account. Oh, so a margin account. Okay, it does say. Okay, so let me actually read this. Sorry, I have a cord in the way. Lord Boston. Pattern day trading. Marginal accounts can't have 5 same day trades with less than 25K in your account. I know that's on. Okay, that is on Robinhood with the marginal accounts. So, I think that's silly. I think that's silly. That makes no sense. Why can't you? If that's, I mean, maybe it's a way that they make money that's keeping them from allowing you to do those day trades on a margin account, or maybe their margin account. I mean, that is riskier, but I would say there's definitely a reason that they're doing that. It's either for the safety of the trade. Usually they'll probably say this. They will probably say this about that. It's for the safety of the trader. It's for the safety of the trader. But it's probably a different reason. It's probably not the safety of a trader. It's probably something on the back end where they make money. It's probably, what do you guys think? Let me see what Philip says here. PDT tends to make you hold trades too long. It can burn you on swing trades due to stop loss. I'm considering futures trading as the PDT doesn't apply. Oh, okay. So you're more thinking it's like, yeah, they kind of want to not allow, like, make you hold it overnight so that you can't take your profit. I assume that's what you're saying there. So you're saying, like, they make you hold it overnight so that you have a higher chance of getting screwed over by the market makers. Oh, it's an FTC rule. Even better. Even better. Isn't all futures trading only on margin accounts, though? I actually don't know. Good morning, Rose. Welcome. Love seeing when Rose comes into the chat. What's up? Yeah, I actually... it burns me constantly. Yeah, it's because you're forced to hold it overnight. If you don't... So if you're... So if you are, at, like, let's say $1,000 in profit, and you have 0 day trades left at the end of the day, and you do it, is your account, like, suspended for a while? You have a yeah, I know cash accounts, they have to, like, wait till the cash actually transfers. 6 months? Oh, Nvidia's rocketing. No, it's not. AMD's kind of going up pretty good. So this was the trade that we mentioned on the Patreon, but you know, this is one, once it starts to break through levels, you have to be cautious. This does not have the divergence at the same time, and you really just have this flatness of the MACD, so you got to be a little careful. I'm praying for it too. Aaron, I wish you the best. 6 months though, that is crazy. 6 months, guys. 6 months. That's kind of wild. Let's check on Amazon again. Look at that. It's starting to break down here. Q's not able to do it. It kind of looks similar to Amazon. That's why I'm kind of clicking back and forth between it. SPY, starting to see that buy back up. Maybe we could look at a 5-minute for a while. Let's see if this curls up. There is potential to head higher, right? The micro side, 5-minute curl, cup, handle. We can start to head higher, but that's not going to have much steam behind it. So most likely we need to build more liquidity before we see some kind of meaningful bounce. If you're deemed a day trader and fall below 25K, they lock your account. On a cash account? A cash account, they have to wait for the funds to transfer over. I know that. And sometimes you can't, like, make a trade for, like, 3 days, 5 days, 3 business days, 5 business days. Yeah, guys, just deposit 25K. Dawson's like, guys, go log in, plug in your bank account, and put in 25K. What are you guys doing? Is it 3 business days? Yeah, Joe, we can look at Tesla real quick. We're just looking at a 5-minute here. This one on the 5-minute, bunch of divergences, huge move. Really struggling at positive territory though. Right when it gets in it, you see that struggle, but you're still remaining in it now, so you could see that start to go up. Tesla though, it's a rough one. Okay, you do have divergence down here, I guess. Like it's just pretty spread out, so I don't know. You want to take it with a grain of salt, maybe. I would just pay attention 167.53 to the upside. That's the daily expected move here, 167.53. That's where you can see that resistance come in. So if you have a play on Tesla, just know that the market has priced in only this move right here. Now, if you end the day, let's say we end the day up here, you can see more positivity going into next week. You really just want to see if this actually rolls into positive territory with that trade, then you can be a little more confident, but you have to be very careful. You're pretty deep into negative territory, so any rollover can send you lower. Like if I spread this out to what it's actually supposed to look like, you'll see it's pretty far away. I would like it to be closer. That's why I'm saying these are spread out. You would like one most likely in the recent price action to get you a little closer. Even something like this, get you nice and close. Hey, it's all right, Aaron. The thing is, like, when you fail, it's about how you react to the failure. It's not, it's like, are you failing and learning? Are you failing and still willing to try again? Or are you failing and continuing to do the same things that made you fail the first time? Good faith violation. Account lock. Damn, they're just account locking the small retail traders left and right out there. Nvidia actually seeing some kind of bounce now. Okay, 0.5 up. Okay, so this can start to curl up into positive territory. Wouldn't that be crazy for the day if the entire market is going down, but Nvidia ends up curling up into positive territory? God, we are in a psycho time right now. Absolutely nuts out there right now. AMD actually able to curl up on this 30-minute, going up into the daily expected move. This is the daily expected move for AMD at this point. You can see this roll up. We could see some positivity come in here. Dude, we were all the way down to 185. Now we're at 190, 150 almost. Hitting that upside of the daily. Oh, I see base. Exactly. That's as I said. If we're going to manipulate this market, these are the stocks they're going to use. I would even look at SMCI right now. I'd see if that's curling up. Guess what? SMCI not breaking down. Maybe going to curl up positive territory and continue the positivity. So, you know, if they're going to use anything, they're going to use these crazy stocks that people have been getting in on. Look at a 5-minute, see if we're seeing any kind of reaction on AMD around this. And you see it start to wick out a little bit. We'll have to see. And this is what I'm talking about. Even on the 5-minute, very difficult. Now, if you wanted to say, hey, there's plenty of resistance here. If we're able to hold at this level, kind of flag out, we can break through that resistance. That would make some sense. But if this just starts to curl back over and go negative with a good amount of selling, then you would say, hey, we're most likely going to take out this low. No, I mean, you do have a little 5-minute divergence here. So you did have potential to get into this move. We should be watching the 5-minute for you day traders out there. And that's true. I was still believing that NVIDIA, remember I said NVIDIA probably could still hit 1,000. Especially if it still remains up towards like 900 and then GTC next week and we start to see that big surge and then it's all going to crash down most likely. Once we get above 1,000, I think we'll at least see some people taking profit, kind of like on SMCI when it first got above 1,000. We saw it kind of taper off when we first got above 900 and we saw that call wall. We were like, this is probably where it starts to pull back down pretty fast on NVIDIA. So Right now, we're exactly where the market has expected AMD to go. We have to see if we're going to see some profit taking here, if we're going to see some more selling here. Maybe people get out of some positions, but resistance, kind of came down, got a divergence, solid little play here for the day. CPI is hot, CPI is hot, and layoffs are high, and market keeps going up. Exactly. So you know, keep an eye on the TLT still heading lower, so we still have those yields heading up right now. Now we're starting to get outside the range. We can see something crazier happen here. And see, like AMD, I actually took a call on AMD just as a maybe, and then this kept happening. I didn't see 5-minute structure, but I don't trust 5-minute structure that much. I'm like, is it really worth the sketchiness? No. So I'm out. Missed out on a big move. Would have made a bunch of money, but do you see how I'm flipping back and forth trading like water? Do you guys see it? I took a call here, got burnt out a little bit on my 30-minute chart there. See this start to happen. I would have probably seen if there was some kind of move here, but there's no reason for me to play into this craziness. Just note that we are still, or this was the weekly expected move actually. 191.26 was the weekly expected move. So this is actually your daily. So this 193.11 is where we could pay attention to for today. Bitcoin's showing you the first signs it wants to break down. As far as coin goes, we talked about this a little bit. Really just want to kind of follow what Bitcoin's doing for the most part. Seeing that drop off pretty heavy at this point. You do have divergence down here that got you into positive territory, so you might want to look for another one. No real divergence here, but you're positive. I mean, your trend is positive on the higher time frames. I'm just going to tell you this, the 30 minutes pretty deep here. So if you do get this to curl up and curl back down, you can see how this is broken. And then I have this little trend here that says, hey, if this breaks, we could head down to probably 194.70. And then if we get some kind of bounce there and break down lower, well, then we're going to stair step down to 161. And then if that breaks, well, we could head all the way down to 116, and then we could see some dramatic things start to happen. So that's what I'd pay attention to. Same thing with BITO and things like that. You just really want to pay attention to Bitcoin. But look at this signal on BITO, this 30-minute signal here, giving you this divergence, giving you this steep divergence. This is one I really, really like to see. I wish I was paying attention to this going on into yesterday. Going on into maybe even Wednesday, this would have been great because boom, big divergence, gets into negative territory. This is really what you're looking for, guys. When I'm talking about stuff, like, and I'm mentioning these divergences and all that good stuff, yeah, you have divergence across the board here, but look at that steep one right here. Even this one right here, you could take a little play on. This one here, now you're getting further into negative territory. It tells you, hey, I can be a little confident. Let me look at a 2 hour, see where that's at. Okay, it's still in positive territory, so I got to be a little careful here. But for the most part, if we don't get a reaction from here, you're going to head down to $28 on BITO. AMD, oh my goodness. Let's see if that resistance wants to come in. Remember, 193.11 is actually the daily expected move. I spoke incorrectly. Of course I did. This is actually the weekly expected move right here. This is 191.26, the daily right here. Okay, so this is all the options market has priced in for AMD. You really think AMD will go to 1,000? Or are you typing it and pasting it twice so that other people buy AMD so that you can get out of your call position? I want to know. Just if you need that, this is a channel where you can be honest. It's a judgment. It's Planet Fitness up in here. There's no judgment here. Apple's going down. Did Apple break through? Remember, people rotated maybe even out of Apple. Okay, so we broke through. Now we have that potential. Yeah. I think you have AMD calls, my friend. I think you don't have much assessment, much analysis behind that take. Sorry to call you out for it, but as honesty, guys, you can be honest on this channel. If you want something to go up, that's perfectly fine. I want it to go up for you too. I want you to win. I don't want you to lose. But by me just agreeing with you that AMD will go to 1,000, it's not going to cause people to buy AMD to get to it. I can wish you the best. And if AMD has good structure, which it did on the 5-minute, you're going to see bounces. Yeah, and these things could come important. So this could be kind of like a like the .com bubble where all these AI stocks and then they all get kind of thrown away, or chip stocks get thrown away, and then the top 3 dogs reign supreme. Definitely possible. Ooh, reaction out of Apple on the 5-minute here. Not wanting to fully break down. See if that's a retest. Looking really good for Nvidia. It actually is. This is what we talked about. This is kind of the moment that we were talking about. Crosses up, can go into positive territory. You got some flagging here. How you would head up. Remember, left, head, right shoulder, little inverse head and shoulders for you. I'm not, because I know we said this right when we came on. These are the stocks they're going to use to manipulate the market to get the Qs to remain higher and to get the SPY to maybe remain a little bit higher if I could scroll. So this isn't looking good, though, from the 30-minute perspective. It's not looking good. 5-minute perspective, if we keep lagging like this, still not a good thing. We could just come and test this and head back down. Remember to be careful. We could have people playing this 0 DTE, right? So we could see people start to take profit at levels where we need to pay attention. 193.11, that's where we need to pay attention for AMD. NVIDIA not there yet, but it can get all the way up to 907.80 before we see that real selling come in. So we really just have to be careful. We're not breaking through this at this point. Oh yeah, Allah and God is my prayers. Aaron, see? Just keep the vibes good. Has the manipulation started? Well, I would say, are other stocks really starting to bounce from here? If I see NVIDIA really bouncing, well, Amazon was really strong. Let's see if that... Wait, that's not bouncing. Kind of crazy. Okay, well, Meta was pretty strong. It's bouncing a little. That's okay. What about Microsoft? Microsoft looked pretty... It's bouncing a little. Google looked pretty good. Good morning, Junior. So, yeah, I would say they're using AMD and NVIDIA to kind of manipulate the market, guys. This will not allow the market to go down. We could see something bad happen over the weekend. I'd be very careful holding things over the weekend, just because of this type of thing here. Now, you can make your plays, still do your thing, but we just have yields that are rocketing higher. You have potential for things to break over the weekend, and you know, I guess now that I know the acronym for it, PDT, your pattern day trading, might screw you over on this if you have to hold over the weekend. Volatility closing back below the 200, not what you want to see. Now we are getting that reaction up on these 5-minute charts, right? We're dinking off of the 20 on the SPY, nothing to worry about here. Right, that's what they want you to keep thinking, actually, is probably nothing to worry about here. So let's just look at this 5-minute here. See if we see some kind of resistance come in at that daily expected move. Not necessarily seeing it on the Qs. That's starting to buy back up, but we expect that. Pretty high weight with NVIDIA. So on the 5-minute, you just want to see, you know, if the SPY is going to roll up, does it just reject, roll back down? Because this can easily just boom, boom. NVIDIA's the GOAT. Mohammed's pumped. I'm not disagreeing with you. I just think that I think it is held up by debt. Maybe that's the best way to put it. I think it is held up by debt. I've heard a lot of people have been getting credit cards and buying NVIDIA and doing sketchy things like that. So I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying it's a good stock that could see a very big correction before it wants to head higher. That's how I would put it. hair all over this. That's what my dog looks like, one of my dogs. Or if he's around here. Nope, he's in bed. GE? Selling his house and money. Yeah, there's people that took out like HELOCs and things like that probably. Whoa, GE, pretty good. Well, we have to look on a daily scale first here. Oh God. Oh God. I'm going to say sometime between now and 2026. We'll just put it that way. That way we're very good here. If you took a business statistics class, you know this. How do you buy NVIDIA with a credit card? Well, you take out a credit card. You go to an ATM, or you go to somewhere where you can get a cash advance or something like that, and then you take a cash advance on your credit card so that you take a bunch of cash. So if you get a $10,000 credit card, you take $9,000 out cash, you can go buy NVIDIA. You can go buy 10 shares. Top 10 stocks to buy and hold for 5 years? No. That's not a ticker. That is my opinion. I am not holding any stocks for the next 5 years. I know some things go up in a crash. I know that still in any market things go up. But I think everything go down. This is horrible, just so you guys know. I think it will be not, I mean, you can probably find those stocks, but I am just going to trade this thing on the way down. That's how I'm going to do it. I'm not holding anything long for the long term except for bonds. I told you guys that. So divergence and also General Electric. So the overall thing I would just say here, be very, very careful with this. This thing can really kill you over the next few years. 2 hour, I would just see if this makes another point of divergence. But if you start to look here, this could be consolidation to make one more move higher, and then we could see that start to fall back down. But General Electric going up like that is a good explanation of, hey, do you think we're still experiencing inflation? Well, General Electric is worth $169 right now. So what do you think? The patient people are pretty good in this market, Edward. Cuts are being created on the 1 minute in both the QQQ and SPY. Yes, so be a little cautious because they're using AMD to head higher. Now, if AMD curls up positive territory, right, we can see a crazy move out of AMD. Not saying that can't happen if it gets up into positive crosses on this 2 hour. Totally, totally possible. I just want to dig a little deeper for today and say, you know, this is all the option market expects for AMD for the entire day. My ex is an executive at GE. Guess she's doing well. Well, she's your ex. Are you guys are you guys on good terms or bad terms, Steven? Before I make jokes, I don't want to make jokes on her if you're like still in love with her or something. Bad terms. Okay. Well, you know, since she broke up with you, I heard she's pretty inflated. Needs to hit the gym. She's as inflated as her GE stock. No, they're on bad terms, guys. She's going to give us the opposite. She's going to give us the wrong news. No, you just have to look at GE and be like, okay, well, if we go through a deflationary event, things are going to start to get, you know, very, very bad for these inflationary things. So anything that you see that looks like that, anything you see that looks like NVIDIA is probably going to do some bad stuff. We play the mind games. Okay. So you say, I'm just really, here's how you see if she's honest. The GE stock. I mean, just really think about investing in GE right now. I just really think it's a great buy. And then see if she agrees with you. If she agrees with you, she's full of whatever my daughter's spewing out every day. But Steven, thank you for letting me joke about your ex. But step being made here by AMD. Step being made to possibly go higher next week. 5 minute getting into positive territory. We can see now we're above the weekly, right? So we do close within these weeklies 68% of the time. If you guys aren't part of the Patreon, you see how powerful it is today. We close in here 68% of the time. It'd make total sense for us to just kind of bounce around, maybe even dip lower and get one more push higher by end of day or something like that. Dip down, come back up. That would make a lot of sense, right? We could form the big cup. Maybe we get another decent sized cup by end of day, and then we land back in this zone. That would be interesting if we land right here. If she doesn't love 0DT, she's not the one. I guess I'm not the one. But I did sell my awesome. This would have been an awesome play. I literally bought AMD right here. I was just like, you know what? Let's make a play here on the 30 minutes. See if that thing's gonna curl up. So this isn't the chart I used, but if I would have saw this chart, I should have went into a 5 minute since it is the day of. That was just bad trading by me. But you see that divergence. You see that steepness on the RSI down here, just a little bit steeper down there. Good chance for a bounce. Boom. I even said they're gonna use AMD to manipulate the market, and then I scared myself out of it. My weak mental for the day. Same time, same stock? I actually don't know. What value does yours give? Yeah, should be fine. I hope it's correct. Now you're making me want to check my 200. I can tell you I've been using this indicator for like years. Wait, on AMD, yours is at 137. Well, on the daily. On the daily, it's at 130-ish. At 130. See what it is on the daily. See if it's incorrect. Now you got me guessing, but I've used these for years. I've used this indicator for these EMAs for years. So now one thing you want to be cautious. Remember, AMD had the divergence. It confirmed it. But I can check again, Edward, just to make sure, like, over the weekend, I can give a little check. And by the way, the weekend, tomorrow, I am going to be filming the video that's coming out for the course about kind of when to get out, when to take your losses, when to kind of cut the cord, and then try to find another trade. So we're going to put out that video tomorrow, and then, or actually it'll be put out on Sunday. I'm going to work on it tomorrow. I have it kind of written out. So we're going to work on it tomorrow, and then we could see by Sunday, we could have that out to you guys. So if you're part of the course, you can go back and watch that little video. Should be just a nice brief one. And then if you are interested in learning some of this stuff, right, you can take that course and you'll get that extra video there. Sessions high on SPY and Q. We back, baby. Well, let's not get too excited. Let's not get too excited. We can use this daily expected move as resistance. Now the Qs are back within its range. So that is something. The Qs are back within its range. You got to be careful though. They are obviously, very obviously, just pushing NVIDIA and AMD higher. I highly doubt out of the blue, random people were like, this is a great buy. No, I think that is not what is happening. Unless I'm missing something. Wait. But a surprise new chip could be a catalyst. Like, whatever, man. Like, this is just selling, data, selling. And then randomly we go up. But a good bounce, we still could see the structure here. So if you're watching a 5 minute, you see the structure. And then as you get into positive territory, you could say, okay, now I'm confident in this. Boom, it goes a little higher. Hey, this is all the options market is priced in for AMD. This would be a great time to take some profit there. You do have potential for this to burst through and see something crazy. I like to not wait to see something crazy. I would take my profit personally. Hey, you guys do what you got to do. If you think this is going to just bounce down and go up even higher, that's perfectly fine. I would just be taking it there. How about a nice little rippy rip to 520? AMD is a good buy under 100. Let's see. Let's go see where AMD is a good buy. Yeah, maybe around this area you can see a solid bounce out of that if we don't see some kind of actual, depression at this point. Then I would say this trend here. I mean, I know I have marked off 108.12, but I would really pay attention to this trend, see if there's some kind of curl up. The thing is, you're so high up on this magnet, you still can pull back even to here and see that curl around. It's really if you see this start to keep going that you can get into negative. So if we go negative and then see that curl up, you got to be a little bit more cautious. But if you're able to hold up a little higher, you can see another move higher as long as you hold up a little bit. Yeah, 520. Let's go look at 520's. Anything is possible, guys. Just so you know, anything in the market is possible. Anything is possible. Like, I feel like it's like a motivational speech right now. 520? Oh yeah, you would if this thing gets to 520 today, you might want to never enter a casino again, because if that hits 520 today, you never want to enter a casino again because you used up all your luck. It could close green. Now we can look at something like volatility on a 5-minute. That's sometimes fun. You can see these like big drops down, right? So you want to see if there's any divergences being created. Weirdly enough, you have hidden divergence here. So something we haven't talked about really ever is hidden divergence, but you do see it on this 5-minute. Like I said, you can see crazier things on the 5-minute. So you notice this comes up, but this actually goes down. That's hidden divergence there. Yes, Carlos, you will be able to see the videos over and over. Once you purchase it, it is yours. You just have to log into Teachable and then you got it. Welcome to our new subscribers, Dustin and Steve. Thank you for joining. Microsoft, what's the daily range? I don't have the daily range for Microsoft today, but as everything's breaking through their daily ranges, I'm confident in saying it's probably broken through its daily range. Microsoft, 1 point, yeah. It's probably broken through that daily range at this point on Microsoft. Same thing goes for Google. Google probably broke through that range already. Because we noticed things like Apple went down by about 1.28%, and it's outside of its range. Amazon's down 1.6, it's outside of its range, and these are about down by the same amount. So I'd assume it's similar. From here, now we want to see we're holding as resistance at this point. That means we can either break up, break down, but you have a higher probability while you're outside of here to end back in this zone. Just so you know, you have a 68% chance to land up here, about a 32% chance to land out here. What do I think about Chewy? My dog loves it. My dog always tries me to get to buy that stock, I tell you. Microsoft could go down to 401. I mean, I wouldn't say today, but yes. 401.31. This area in here could become important. All right, guys, 9:54. I'm going to go through all the stocks real quick. SPY, things we need to pay attention to if that selling continues, okay? So you still have the potential for this to break down. We just want to see if that selling can continue here, roll back over into negative territory. We're getting a strong move, and that could go positive. So we really want to pay attention to this. Pay attention to, on the SPY, that daily range, the bottom side, we can reject from there and start to head lower. So pay attention to that because we do like to use it as resistance when we break through. A big gap going on there. So the Q's, nothing down here telling me it has to sustain this bounce. But we know that market manipulation come in. If we get another dip down, look for a 5-minute divergence. You might get some kind of bounce by end of day with a little 5-minute divergence down here as people sell out of all of those puts. Apple, using that as resistance at this point. We'll see if it breaks down lower. We actually could see this extend a little bit if it wants to head higher. complete the cup, get that handle to head higher. Now this is the bottom side of the daily expected move, the top side 175.38. Very doubtful we get there, but anything's possible. Still way down in negative territory on this 5 minutes. So even if this pops a little bit higher, look if that does roll over, because we could just be going back down a little bit more. I'll look at Chewy in a moment, but Tesla here, just kind of some consolidation. You really would like this to hold here and then consolidate to head higher. The fact that we blew past it, kind of a bullish thing, but kind of a worrisome thing. See if this goes negative, because then you could be breaking through this little mini trend here. Could be testing that low. Okay, so Amazon and Tesla real quick, just so you do know, it's still within its range, right? It's within its daily range. It's within its weekly range. It's almost within its weekly range. Its weekly range is like right where we're at. So I didn't want to put another line up here, but points to pay attention to for Tesla if we see bullish or bearishness for the day. If you do have those options, 167.53 to the upside, good point to take profit. And if you're on the short side, 157.49 to the downside. Amazon, something interesting. It looks a lot. It looks something like Apple, right? Kind of testing that area a bunch. So we want to see, is this going to get that 68% chance to land up here? Or are we actually going to see that break down? That's something to really pay attention to with Amazon. It's been pretty strong, but if we keep going sideways, good shot that if that does roll over, we're in negative territory. So tick up for today for the bears on Amazon. Nvidia able to get into positive territory, starting to really try to test this level right here, able to go positive. So if we do get some consolidation here and remain a little higher, we can see that go up. Really see if it gets some reaction up to here and then bases out. We could see that go a little bit higher into next week. We do have GTC and stuff like that. Sorry, I'm burping like crazy. AMD, this is what we overall said. They're going to use NVIDIA and AMD to most likely manipulate this market, and that seems to be what's happening. That seems to be what's happening right now. Just be careful with AMD here, because yes, you did get that trade down here on the 5 minute. You got that 68% zone. We're in it right now. You're flagging, you could head higher, makes sense. This is still the weekly, but for the day, this is all that is expected by the market. Meta we can look at because we have the bottom of the weekly expected move. This is that cupping that can form. If we get some kind of handle, we can continue. Just really pay attention on the 5 minute for the day. See if this stuff is remaining curling over in negative territory. You could get some little trades out of that with some bearishness. So right now, starting to see some red bars. See if this is just flagging to head lower. Maybe this is going to be some kind of handle we're forming to head lower at this point. Now, one thing about Meta, if it does curl over, you get that 5 minute divergence, you could see a more sustainable bounce, and maybe that's the actual handle over here. So we have to pay attention to that. We can look at Chewy real quick. We'll look at Chewy, and then I have to go, but I really appreciate you guys coming by today. But for Chewy, you are in a negative trend. You are below the 200. You have a little bit of a head and shoulders. This thing can head lower. Okay, this thing can head lower. The good part about this was you had a little tiny divergence right here, so you could catch this little bounce. But if you're able to actually cross over into negative territory, bad things for Chewy can happen. We can start to head down pretty dramatically on the daily scale of things. Let's take a small measurement, not really going all the way to the base. Let's just use this point right here. You can see Chewy make a measured move all the way down to 822. So that's just something to pay attention to. If you're looking for a bounce in Chewy, really look for that to kind of come down to this area. Maybe stay within this pattern right here, stay within this angle, and then you see some kind of reaction even before that. That would be a little more bullish. You can see some kind of divergence form closer to positive territory, because this one wasn't enough to get a sustainable bounce at this point as of right now. So you have to be worried this could curl over on the daily scale. Kind of tells you there might be bad things for Chewy going into next week. You wonder what those bad things are. Well, it's just in a negative trend at this point, so that negative trend can continue. Pretty easy chart to look at. Daily, negative trend. Let's go look. Maybe there's like a 30-minute divergence. Okay, 30-minute, about to roll up. See if that goes positive. 2 hour, want to pull that up for our dailies. Look at that. You have a 2 hour divergence. What do we like about 2 hour divergences? They roll over the daily. So you have 2 hour divergence here going negative. If this doesn't curl up, and even if it does, if it curls up one more time, you still have potential. So you really want to see some strength in Chewy. And if this is going to actually head higher, I would like it to get up into this area here. I would like it to really complete a big cup, build a bunch of liquidity, get that handle, come down, get a little head and shoulders here. So that's your upward move. Your downward is this 2 hours going to keep going negative and roll over this daily. So not a good looking stock at this point. It's below the 200. A swing trader would even swing this to the downside, right? They would say, there's my bar. I'm going to do this. If this crosses over, I can be confident with it. Boom, it comes down to $14 or something, and then it could get some kind of reaction. Woof woof. My boys, they love me some Chewy. All right. So I really just want to say thank you guys so much for showing up today. Next week, remember that we will be going live a little bit later on Wednesday, but throughout the week, we'll have the same time. Okay, same time throughout the week. The only difference is Wednesday, we'll be live once that data is released is when we will go live. Okay, just so you guys remember that. Keep thinking about it. I'll mention it in the YouTube video. I think I got this fixed, so I'm pretty sure I can still put out my YouTube videos. We have a lot to talk about over the weekend. So tune in tomorrow morning if you're not busy. Get a little bit of stock info on your Saturday morning or on Sunday morning, and then come back for Sunday because we'll have those new updated weekly ranges for you. We'll have those updated on Patreon as well. And we'll have those daily ranges for Monday going into a big thing, which would be GTC comes out. GTC is going to be huge, right? So thank you guys so much for stopping by. Thank you for liking, subscribing. Welcome to the new subscribers, Dustin and Steve. Make sure if you guys do want to learn a little bit more about this stuff, how we actually know these types of things, why these things are important when we cross over, why the center line's important, and a trading strategy for a bear market, as we are looking pretty rough on some stuff here. Right, pretty rough on some stuff. Getting that sell signal on the daily here for the Qs. You might want to take a bear market course, and I do have one of those, and you can learn about these indicators. It's very good for a bull market, but I give you a little strategy for the bear market as well. Thank you guys so much for showing up today. Really appreciate it. I wish you guys all the luck in the world trading. Be careful out there over the weekend. Don't get banned from trading for 6 months from doing some pattern day trading. And the last thing I just wanted to say was this market is as inflated as Steve's ex-girlfriend, and therefore we have to be careful out there because this bubble could pop at any time. And I hope you guys have a great day. Peace. Shit.